Keisha Washington extended her hand professionally toward Richard Blackstone in the marble lobby of Blackstone Industries. He glanced at it with visible disgust, stepped back, and sneered, "Security, remove this person from my establishment. I don't do business with people like you." The refused handshake hung in the air for 3 excruciating seconds. Blackstone deliberately looked away, adjusting his platinum cufflinks instead. Around them, 12 employees stopped their conversations. 3 security guards shifted uncomfortably. The reception desk clerk's live stream captured every humiliating detail. Keisha's worn messenger bag and casual jeans seemed to offend Blackstone's sensibilities. His $8,000 suit and Patek Philippe watch gleamed under the lobby's crystal chandeliers. The contrast was deliberate, calculated, but appearances deceive. Have you ever been judged by your appearance in a moment that would change everything? This is what happened next in one of the most expensive mistakes in corporate history. Keisha Washington extended her hand professionally toward Richard Blackstone in the marble lobby of Blackstone Industries. He glanced at it with visible disgust, stepped back, and sneered, "Security, remove this person from my establishment. I don't do business with people like you." The refused handshake hung in the air for 3 excruciating seconds. Blackstone deliberately looked away, adjusting his platinum cufflinks instead. Around them, 12 employees stopped their conversations. 3 security guards shifted uncomfortably. The reception desk clerk's live stream captured every humiliating detail. Keisha's worn messenger bag and casual jeans seemed to offend Blackstone's sensibilities. His $8,000 suit and Patek Philippe watch gleamed under the lobby's crystal chandeliers. The contrast was deliberate, calculated, but appearances deceive. Have you ever been judged by your appearance in a moment that would change everything? This is what happened next in one of the most expensive mistakes in corporate history. The digital clock above the reception desk read 10:47 a.m. Keisha's meeting with Blackstone was scheduled for 11 o'clock a.m. sharp. "I have an appointment with Mr. Blackstone," Keisha said calmly, lowering her rejected hand. Her voice carried no anger, no embarrassment, just quiet certainty. Blackstone made an exaggerated show of sanitizing his hands with expensive cream from his breast pocket. "Did you see how she presumed to touch me?" he whispered loudly to his assistant, Sarah Carter. His voice carried across the marble expanse deliberately. Sarah giggled nervously, clutching her tablet. "Probably another protester, sir. Should I call building security?" "The audacity," Blackstone announced to the growing audience. "Walking into my building, thinking she could shake my hand like we're equals." Security Chief Marcus Thompson, a tall black man in his 40s, approached reluctantly. His radio crackled with chatter from other floors. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises." Thompson's eyes avoided Keisha's. 23 years on the force before this job taught him to recognize trouble. But something about this woman's composure unsettled him. She wasn't acting like someone caught trespassing. "I understand your position, Officer Thompson," Keisha replied, reading his name badge. "But I do have a scheduled appointment." The live stream on the reception desk showed 2,147 viewers watching the company tour that had suddenly become something else entirely. Comments flooded the screen. "OMG, is this really happening? He wouldn't even shake her hand? This is disgusting. Someone call the news." Intern Jessica Martinez held her phone steady, her followers climbing by the minute. She'd started streaming A Day in Corporate America for her social media class. Now she was documenting what felt like a career-ending moment for someone. Blackstone adjusted his Hermes tie, checking his Rolex Daytona. The $45,000 watch caught the light as he gestured dismissively. "I built this empire over 30 years by recognizing quality, by understanding value. People like you don't comprehend professional boundaries." "Professional boundaries?" Keisha repeated softly. "Like refusing a handshake?" Her messenger bag shifted slightly, revealing the corner of something metallic and black. A glimpse of platinum caught the light before disappearing back into worn leather. "Listen carefully," Blackstone continued, his voice rising for maximum effect. "I choose who deserves my respect. I choose who enters my boardrooms. Standards exist for a reason." More employees gathered now. The marketing team from the 15th floor. 2 junior executives from mergers and acquisitions. The facilities manager. Word was spreading through the building's internal chat. CEO confronting trespasser in lobby. Live on intern stream. Keisha's phone buzzed constantly. The caller ID remained blocked, but the frequency suggested urgency. She glanced at the screen without answering. From her jacket pocket, the edge of a boarding pass became visible. JFK, Geneva, Swissair, First Class, Seat 2A. The departure time, 3:15 p.m. Today. "Sir," Thompson interjected quietly, "maybe we should handle this more discreetly." "No." Blackstone's voice carried authority that came from billions in assets under management. "This is exactly the entitlement problem plaguing society. She walks in here presuming equality. The delusion is astounding." The live stream count hit 4,200 viewers. Jessica's hands trembled slightly as she held the phone. This was going viral in real time. #Blackstone. Racism was already trending on Twitter. Building manager Patricia Hernandez arrived, clipboard in hand. She'd worked in Manhattan corporate buildings for 15 years. "Is this the person who tried to force physical contact with Mr. Blackstone?" The crowd murmured. Someone in the back called out, "The nerve to think she could just shake hands with him." Keisha remained perfectly still near the elevator bank. Her breathing was controlled, deliberate. That slight smile never wavered. If anything, it seemed to grow more mysterious as the hostility increased. "Ma'am," Hernandez said officiously, "you're creating a disturbance. Security will escort you out immediately." "A disturbance," Keisha mused, "for attempting to shake hands." Another text message lit up her phone screen. The preview was partially visible. "Geneva board meeting confirmed for 4 p.m. local. Washington Post ready to..." Blackstone pulled out his own device, likely texting his PR team about managing the incident. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. Damage control was already beginning. 30 years, he announced to his growing audience. 30 years building this reputation, this legacy. I won't let someone like you damage what I've created." "Someone like me," Keisha said quietly. "Please, continue." A junior employee whispered to her colleague, "Should we be filming this?" But phones stayed raised. The story was too compelling to stop recording. The security radio crackled. "Building 7, this is dispatch. We have units en route if needed." Thompson pressed his earpiece. "Building 7, situation under control for now." But his eyes kept returning to Keisha's unnervingly calm demeanor. In his experience, people being humiliated publicly either fought back or fled. They didn't stand there smiling like they knew something everyone else didn't. Sarah Carter was furiously Googling on her tablet. Keisha Washington, plus appointment, plus Blackstone. The search results were loading slowly. "Standards matter," Blackstone continued his performance. "Excellence recognizes excellence. Some people need to learn their place in the hierarchy." The live stream was now being shared across platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. The hashtags multiplied. Handshake. Humiliation. Corporate shame. Respect matters. Keisha checked her phone again. 10:52 a.m., 8 minutes until her scheduled meeting time. She looked directly at Blackstone, that enigmatic smile growing slightly wider. "Your standards. How selective." The crowd swelled to nearly 30 people. Word had spread through Blackstone Industries like wildfire. Employees poured from elevators, drawn by the commotion and the live stream that now showed 8,400 viewers. "Is this the person who tried to force physical contact with Mr. Blackstone?" Building manager Hernandez asked loudly, making sure her voice carried. Marketing director Robert Kane arrived with his team, phones already recording. "I heard someone's trying to shake hands with executives without permission," he announced to his group. His voice dripped with disdain. The absurdity wasn't lost on some employees, but the mob mentality was building. In corporate America, choosing sides quickly could determine career trajectories. Blackstone's inner circle was already forming, creating a protective barrier around their CEO. Jessica Martinez's live stream was being shared across every major platform. The comments section exploded. "How is refusing a handshake legal? This is 2025, not 1955. Someone called Channel 7 News. Get her a lawyer." But darker comments appeared too. "She doesn't belong there. Know your place. Blackstone has standards." The hashtag handshake humiliation was now trending alongside hashtag corporate shame and hashtag respect matters. Twitter's algorithm was amplifying the story to millions. TikTok clips were already being edited and reshared with dramatic music. Keisha's phone buzzed again. This time, she glanced at the screen long enough for those nearby to notice multiple missed calls from Goldman Sachs Legal. Each missed call icon showed a different number, suggesting urgency from multiple departments. "You have exactly 3 minutes to leave my building," Blackstone announced, checking his Rolex theatrically. The $45,000 timepiece caught the light as he gestured. "Security, prepare to escort this individual out." Thompson shifted uncomfortably. His radio crackled. "Building 7, backup units are standing by. Do you need assistance?" He looked at Keisha again. Something about her posture, her breathing, her absolute calm in the face of humiliation. It reminded him of undercover officers he'd worked with. People who knew something others didn't. "Sir," Thompson said quietly to Blackstone, "maybe we should handle this away from the cameras." "Absolutely not." Blackstone's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to obedience. "This is a teaching moment. This is about respect, about hierarchy, about knowing one's place in the natural order." Sarah Carter was still frantically Googling on her tablet. Her search showed partial results. Keisha Washington, CEO, Forbes. But the corporate network was struggling with so many people streaming simultaneously. The page kept timing out. From the crowd, someone shouted, "Next, she'll want a hug from the CEO." Nervous laughter rippled through the employees. Others joined in with cruel observations about presumption and entitlement. Blackstone smiled coldly, feeding off the crowd's energy. This is exactly what's wrong with society today. Entitlement without merit, presumption without invitation, demanding respect that hasn't been earned. The live stream count hit 12,000 viewers. Major news outlets were starting to pick up the story. CNN's Twitter account retweeted the video with the caption, "Corporate CEO refuses handshake with black woman in company lobby." Local news vans were already being dispatched. The story was too visually compelling to ignore. Keisha checked her phone again. 10:54 a.m., 6 minutes. Another text message preview became visible to those close enough to see. "Washington Post interview confirmed 1 p.m. Legal team en route to..." She slipped the phone back into her pocket without reading the full message. Her composure never wavered. "Ma'am," Hernandez pressed, stepping closer with her clipboard like a weapon. "You're trespassing on private property. This is your final warning before we involve law enforcement." The facilities team had arrived now. Even the executive chef from the 42nd floor restaurant was recording. Someone from HR was pushing through the crowd, looking panicked about the legal implications of this very public confrontation. More employees streamed in from different floors, the accounting department, legal assistants, junior associates. The lobby was becoming dangerously crowded. "I understand your position," Keisha replied to Hernandez, her voice never rising above conversational level. "But I do have legitimate business here." "What business?" Blackstone demanded, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "What possible business could someone like you have in this building?" The question hung in the air. For the first time, Keisha's smile shifted slightly, not worried, amused. "A meeting," she said simply. "A meeting?" Kane laughed from the crowd. "With who? The janitor?" More cruel laughter. The mob was emboldened now, feeding off Blackstone's confidence and each other's cruelty. Security backup arrived. 2 additional guards entered through the main doors, their presence adding weight to the confrontation. The lobby felt smaller now, more oppressive. The crowd was pressing closer. Thompson's radio buzzed again. "Building 7, NYPD is asking if we need units dispatched. This is getting major media attention." The security chief looked around the lobby. 30-plus people recording, thousands watching online, a black woman being publicly humiliated by a billionaire CEO. This was exactly the kind of incident that could explode into something much larger. "Building 7 to dispatch," Thompson said carefully. "The situation is evolving. We'll advise if backup is needed." From somewhere in the crowd, an employee called out, "Just call the police already!" Another voice, "She's obviously mentally disturbed." But other employees were starting to look uncomfortable. The marketing intern who'd first suggested filming was now looking at her phone with concern. The comment section was getting increasingly hostile, but also increasingly supportive of Keisha. "Guys, this is getting kind of intense," the intern whispered. "Maybe we should—" "Should what?" Kane interrupted. "Let trespassers harass our CEO? Show weakness?" The divide was becoming visible. Younger employees looked increasingly uneasy. Older executives seemed energized by the confrontation. The company was splitting in real time. Keisha's phone buzzed again. This time, multiple calls came in rapid succession. Goldman Sachs, an unknown New York number, a Geneva area code, a blocked international number. She declined them all without looking flustered. 10:56 a.m. 4 minutes, Blackstone announced loudly. "Then security removes you by whatever means necessary." The threat was clear. Physical force was being implied. The live stream audience was approaching 15,000 viewers. Hatch Blackstone racism was now trending nationally. But something strange was happening to Blackstone's confidence. Keisha's unnatural calm was starting to unnerve him. Why wasn't she angry? Why wasn't she defensive? Why wasn't she begging? Why wasn't she leaving? "Sir," Sarah Carter whispered urgently, "I'm getting some search results, but they're strange. There are Forbes listings and business profiles that don't make sense." "Not now," Blackstone snapped, but his eyes flickered toward her tablet with growing concern. The lobby's atmosphere grew tense. Employees were choosing sides visibly now. Some moved closer to Blackstone, showing solidarity with power. Others drifted toward the exits, uncomfortable with the escalating cruelty. Thompson noticed Keisha's breathing pattern. Deep, controlled, like someone preparing for something significant, not like someone being cornered. "Ma'am," he said quietly, stepping closer, "is there something I should know here? Something important?" Keisha looked at him directly for the first time. Her eyes held something that made him step back slightly. Certainty, knowledge, power. "Officer Thompson," she said softly, "in about 2 minutes, this situation is going to change dramatically. I'd suggest you be very careful about what side of history you're on." It wasn't a threat. It was friendly advice from someone who clearly knew something nobody else did. The security chief felt his pulse quicken. 30 years of experience told him this woman possessed information that would change everything. 10:57 a.m. Blackstone was warming up for another humiliating speech when Keisha slowly reached for her messenger bag. The entire lobby held its breath. 10:58 a.m. Keisha opened her messenger bag with deliberate slowness. Every eye in the lobby tracked her movement. The live stream count had climbed to 18,000 viewers. Comments flooded faster than anyone could read them. She withdrew a thick document bound in navy blue leather. Gold lettering gleamed across the cover. Blackstone Washington Holdings Merger Agreement. The document was substantial, easily 200 pages, with multiple signature tabs visible along the edges. "What is that?" Blackstone demanded, but his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. His trademark arrogance was cracking. Keisha held the document up, angling it so the lobby's cameras could capture the title page clearly. The live stream exploded with activity. Comments shifted from cruel mockery to shocked confusion. Merger agreement? Is she buying the company? OMG, what is happening? Wait, is she the buyer? This can't be real. This, Keisha said calmly, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to moving billions, is a $3.2 billion acquisition agreement. Signed by you, Mr. Blackstone, last month in Geneva. Conference room 47A at the Four Seasons. You had the salmon. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the building's HVAC system seemed to pause. The bustling sounds of Manhattan traffic outside felt muted. Blackstone's face drained of color as recognition dawned. He remembered that meeting vividly. The Swiss lawyers, the confidentiality agreements, the signature ceremony that would save his company from bankruptcy. But he dealt only with intermediaries, never meeting the actual principals of Washington Holdings. His signature was on page 47, witnessed and notarized by Swiss attorneys. The deal that would solve his company's liquidity crisis, the partnership that would secure his legacy and provide the capital injection his company desperately needed. That handshake you refused, Keisha continued, her voice carrying clearly across the marble expanse, was worth exactly $3.2 billion, 40% of your company's annual revenue, the difference between bankruptcy and prosperity. She flipped to a marked page with practiced precision, revealing detailed financial projections and shareholding percentages. The numbers were staggering. Washington Holdings would acquire 51% of Blackstone Industries through a combination of cash payments, stock transfers, and debt assumption. The projected revenue synergies, $400 million annually. Job creation, 2,400 positions across 12 states. Technology transfers worth an additional $200 million in intellectual property. Sarah Carter's tablet finally loaded her search results completely. Her sharp intake of breath was audible across the lobby. "Sir," she whispered urgently, her voice shaking. "Keisha Washington, Forbes' Richest Americans list, number 47. Net worth $8.7 billion, CEO and founder of Washington Holdings." She kept reading. Washington Holdings. Subsidiaries include Washington Capital, Washington Real Estate Trust, Washington Technologies, Washington Industries. But her words came too late. The damage was already spreading like wildfire. The lobby crowd began backing away from Blackstone instinctively. The power dynamic had shifted so dramatically that people physically moved to distance themselves from the suddenly vulnerable CEO. Executive assistants stepped away from their boss. Marketing employees exchanged panicked glances. Jessica's live stream chat was moving too fast to follow. "She's a billionaire." He refused to shake hands with a billionaire. "This is the buyer?" $3.2 billion. He's finished. Forbes 47 OMG. She owns everything. Thompson's radio crackled with increasing urgency. "Building 7, we're getting calls from major networks. CNN, Fox Business, Bloomberg. Is it true there's a multi-billion-dollar deal happening in your lobby?" Keisha's phone rang. This time she answered calmly. "Goldman Sachs," she said pleasantly, making sure her voice carried across the silent lobby. Yes, I'm at Blackstone Industries now. The meeting is interesting. She paused, listening. Yes, the merger documents are with me. No, I don't think we'll be proceeding as originally planned. She continued the conversation loud enough for everyone to hear. Cancel the wire transfer authorization. Yes, all $3.2 billion. And alert the legal team about potential discrimination litigation. The implications hit the crowd like a physical blow. This wasn't just embarrassing corporate theater. This was real money, real consequences. Real careers are about to be destroyed. Employees were frantically calculating their own exposure. The marketing team had already spent their projected merger bonuses. The IT department had hired contractors for the integration project. The facilities team had signed leases for expansion space. Ms. Washington, Blackstone stammered, his composure cracking completely. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the lobby's air conditioning. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. I had no idea who you were. No misunderstanding, Keisha interrupted smoothly, her tone remaining conversational. You were perfectly clear about your business practices, about your standards, about not doing business with people like me. She held up another document from her bag, a thick manila folder marked SEC Discrimination Complaint, Draft, Blackstone Industries. The legal implications were staggering. Federal investigations, regulatory scrutiny, criminal liability for corporate officers. You see, Mr. Blackstone, I own 23% of your company's stock through various shell companies and investment vehicles. As of yesterday's market close, that position gives me automatic board seat rights under Delaware General Corporation Law, Section 141. Kane stepped forward desperately, his marketing instincts screaming damage control. Ms. Washington, surely we can discuss this privately, away from the cameras, in a more appropriate setting. Privacy? Keisha's eyebrows rose slightly. Privacy expired when Mr. Blackstone made this a public spectacle, when he refused basic human courtesy in front of thousands of witnesses and streaming cameras. The math was becoming clear to everyone present. A $3.2 billion deal represented massive commissions, bonuses, and job security for hundreds of employees. The marketing team alone had been counting on a 15% budget increase from the merger. Stock options would vest. Retirement accounts would stabilize. The company's credit rating would improve from BB+ to AE. All of it evaporates in real time. Let's discuss precise numbers, Keisha continued, her voice taking on the tone of someone accustomed to boardroom presentations and billion-dollar negotiations. Your Q3 revenue was $847 million. This merger represents 38% of your annual income. Your company currently carries $240 million in debt at 7.2% interest. She flipped through pages methodically, revealing detailed financial analysis. The deal includes technology transfers worth an additional $400 million, creates 2,400 new positions, and provides access to Washington Holdings' global distribution network spanning 47 countries. More pages turned. There's also the matter of my personal loan to Blackstone Industries. $40 million, extended last quarter when your credit lines were challenging. Blackstone's knees nearly buckled. The bridge loan was supposed to be confidential. How could she possibly know about... Then the pieces fell into place. K. Washington Holdings, the private lending firm that had saved his company from a cash flow crisis when 3 major clients delayed payments simultaneously. He'd never met the principals, dealing only with their Swiss lawyers and American intermediaries. That loan, Keisha continued conversationally, has a standard acceleration clause. Any violation of fiduciary duty, any discrimination lawsuits exceeding $50 million in potential damages, any actions that materially damage the company's reputation or market position, the full amount becomes due immediately. The crowd was processing the implications in shocked silence. $40 million called due within 30 days. A $3.2 billion merger canceled. SEC investigations triggered. Stock price collapse is inevitable. Thompson's radio buzzed again. Building 7, Channel 7 news van just pulled up. Fox Business is 2 minutes out. Bloomberg TV is requesting building access. The security chief looked at Blackstone with something approaching pity. 30 years of law enforcement experience told him he was watching a man's empire crumble in real time. "Sir," Thompson said quietly, "maybe we should clear the lobby. Move this discussion somewhere private." "No," Keisha said firmly, her voice cutting through the marble space like a blade. "This stays public. Mr. Blackstone made his choice in front of witnesses. The consequences should be equally transparent." She pulled out her phone and speed-dialed a number everyone could see. Washington Post, business desk. "This is Keisha Washington," she said when it connected. "I'm ready for that interview we discussed. Yes, I'm still at Blackstone Industries. The story just became much more interesting than anticipated." Blackstone tried one desperate gambit. "The board will never ratify this decision. You can't cancel a multi-billion-dollar deal over a handshake. The shareholders will sue." "Can't I?" Keisha's smile was razor-sharp now. "Let's examine the contract language. Section 47C, any material change in corporate culture or demonstrated bias that could impact workforce diversity, public perception, or regulatory compliance shall constitute grounds for contract renegotiation or termination." She'd written that clause herself. Her lawyers had insisted on it after conducting extensive due diligence on Blackstone's management style and corporate culture. 43 employees have filed discrimination complaints against Blackstone Industries in the past 18 months, she continued, reading from another document. "Your executive team has 0 black members despite a 23% minority workforce. Your company has paid $12 million in discrimination settlements since 2022 alone." The live stream audience had grown to 25,000 viewers. The story was spreading across every platform simultaneously. Had Handshake Heard was trending globally alongside hashtag billion-dollar mistake. Building manager. Hernandez tried to salvage something. "Ms. Washington, I'm sure we can reach an accommodation. Perhaps we could arrange a proper meeting." "An accommodation?" Keisha's voice carried a dangerous quiet. "Like the accommodation Mr. Blackstone made when he refused to shake my hand? Like the accommodation your security made when they treated me like a criminal trespasser?" She gestured to Thompson, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the marble floor. "Officer Thompson, you've been professional throughout this incident. I appreciate that restraint. But your colleagues?" She shook her head. "System problems require system solutions." Another document emerged from her bag. Building lease agreement. Blackstone Industries has rented this entire building from Washington Holdings Real Estate Trust since 2018. 42 floors. Annual rent? $18 million. The final blow landed with crushing force. She owned the building. She owned 23% of the company. She held their debt. She controlled their future. Every expensive symbol of Blackstone's success suddenly felt hollow. His authority evaporated like morning mist. "Ms. Washington," he tried one last time, his voice barely above a whisper. "Surely we're both reasonable business people. We can find a mutually beneficial resolution." Keisha extended her hand toward him slowly. The same professional gesture that had started this entire catastrophe 20 minutes earlier. "Care to try that handshake again, Mr. Blackstone?" He reached out desperately, his hand trembling visibly. She withdrew hers smoothly, using his exact words. "I don't do business with people like you." The lobby fell completely silent, except for the sound of 25,000 people typing around the world. Outside, news vans were pulling up. Inside, a billionaire CEO was learning that respect costs more than money can buy. But Keisha wasn't finished yet. 11:03 a.m. The news vans had arrived. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reporters and camera crews were setting up on the sidewalk. The story was going national in real time. "Ms. Washington," Blackstone tried again, his voice cracking slightly. "Please let me properly introduce myself. We can resolve this like civilized business people." Keisha pulled out her phone and opened a voice recording app. The red dot appeared on her screen, visible to everyone nearby. "For the record," she said clearly, "it's now 11:03 a.m. Mr. Richard Blackstone, CEO of Blackstone Industries, is requesting a do-over of our introduction, after publicly refusing to shake my hand, calling security to remove me, and stating he doesn't do business with people like me." She held the phone toward him. "Please, Mr. Blackstone, tell our audience what kind of people you prefer to do business with." The trap was perfect. Any answer would be recorded, dissected, and weaponized. The live stream audience had grown to 32,000 viewers. Every word would be scrutinized forever. That's not what I meant," Blackstone stammered. "You have to understand, we get all kinds of people in here. Protesters, activists, people trying to cause trouble." "Activists," Keisha repeated thoughtfully. "And you determined I was an activist based on—" The silence stretched unbearably. Everyone knew the answer. Her skin color, her casual clothes, her refusal to fit his narrow definition of who belonged in his world. Thompson's radio crackled. "Building 7. We need to discuss media management. This is becoming a security situation." From her bag, Keisha withdrew another document. "Let's talk numbers, Mr. Blackstone. Real numbers." She opened a page marked with red tabs. Blackstone Industries stock price as of yesterday's close, $127.50 per share. Market capitalization, $8.4 billion. My current shareholding through various entities, 23.7%, valued at approximately $1.9 billion. Kane stepped closer, his marketing background recognizing a masterclass in crisis communication. But this wasn't crisis management. This was systematic destruction. "Your company's debt-to-equity ratio is currently 2.31, Keisha continued. "The Washington Holdings merger would reduce that to 0.81. Your current credit rating is BB+ with a negative outlook. Post-merger, that would improve to AE with a stable outlook." She flipped pages methodically. "Your average borrowing cost is currently 7.2%. Post-merger, you'd have access to our credit facilities at 3.4%. The savings alone would be $47 million annually." The financial precision was devastating. Every number was accurate, verifiable, and represented millions in lost opportunity. "There's also the matter of your European expansion," Keisha said, producing yet another document. "The Munich facility, the London offices, the Amsterdam distribution center. Total investment, $340 million. Current value, approximately $180 million. Blackstone's face went ashen. The European expansion was his pet project, his legacy play. It was also hemorrhaging money. "Washington Holdings has relationships with 847 European clients. We could make those facilities profitable within 8 months. Without the merger?" She shrugged. "I give them 18 months before bankruptcy proceedings." Sarah Carter was frantically taking notes, trying to calculate the implications. The European division employed some 200 people. Their salaries, their families, their futures, all hung in the balance. "Let's discuss your legal exposure," Keisha continued. "The 43 discrimination complaints I mentioned, 18 are still active. Average settlement cost in similar cases, $2.3 million each. Potential total liability, $41.4 million. She opened another folder. "Then there's the Department of Labor investigation into your hiring practices, the EEOC review of your promotion policies, the New York State Attorney General's inquiry into workplace culture." Each agency name hit like a physical blow. Government investigations could drag on for years, consuming millions in legal fees and executive attention. "My legal team estimates your total discrimination-related exposure at $127 million, Keisha said calmly. "That's assuming no additional complaints arise from today's very public display." The live stream comments were brutal. Sue them for everything. I'm never buying from Blackstone again. Boycott Blackstone. This is 2025, not 1925. Marketing Director Kane was watching his brand value evaporate in real time. Social media sentiment was collapsing. The company's reputation, built over decades, was disintegrating in minutes. There's also the accelerated loan clause we discussed, Keisha said, her voice never rising above conversational level. $40 million due immediately upon material reputational damage. Our legal team considers today's events more than sufficient to trigger that clause. She showed him the loan documents, his signature clearly visible. You have 72 hours to arrange payment. After that, we begin asset seizure proceedings. Thompson shifted uncomfortably. He'd seen corporate executives under pressure before, but never watched someone's empire crumble this methodically. The European facilities would be the first assets seized, Keisha continued. Then the intellectual property portfolio, your customer database, the proprietary manufacturing processes. Blackstone tried desperately to find some leverage. Our shareholders will sue you. This is market manipulation. You can't destroy a company over personal grievances. Personal grievance? Keisha's eyebrows rose. Let's be clear about what happened here. I arrived for a scheduled business meeting. You refused basic professional courtesy based solely on my appearance. You called security to remove me. You made discriminatory statements in front of thousands of witnesses. She gestured to the crowd, the cameras, the live stream. This isn't personal, Mr. Blackstone. This is business. Your business practices, specifically. From outside, they could hear reporters setting up. Someone was testing microphones. The lobby had become a fishbowl, every moment captured and broadcast. I'm prepared to offer you a choice, Keisha said, her voice taking on the tone of someone accustomed to final negotiations. Option 1. Full public apology, live-streamed to all platforms. Immediate implementation of comprehensive diversity and inclusion policies. External oversight committee with real enforcement power. And a $2 million donation to the Washington Foundation for Black Entrepreneurs. She paused, letting the terms sink in. Option 2. I exercise all available remedies. Merger canceled. Loan call due. Discrimination lawsuits filed in federal court. SEC investigation requested. Media interviews documenting your company's pattern of discrimination. The math was simple and brutal. Option 1. Humiliation, but survival. Option 2, complete destruction. You'll also personally greet every visitor to this building for the next 6 months, Keisha added, with a handshake, regardless of their appearance, race, or perceived social status. The symbolism was perfect. The man who refused to shake her hand would be required to shake everyone's hand. Kane leaned over to whisper urgently to Blackstone, but Keisha held up her hand. This decision is Mr. Blackstone's alone. He created this situation. He'll resolve it. The live stream audience was approaching 40,000 viewers. Major news networks were picking up the feed. The story was trending on every platform simultaneously. Blackstone looked around the lobby. 30-plus employees watched his humiliation. Thousands more online. His legacy, his reputation, his carefully constructed image of success, all crumbling. But the alternative was worse. Corporate death, financial ruin, legal battles that would consume years and millions. Ms. Washington, he said quietly, if I accept option 1, the merger proceeds? Modified terms, she replied firmly. New management structure, mandatory diversity targets, external oversight. But yes, the merger proceeds. She pulled out a pre-drafted document. Her lawyers had anticipated this moment. These are the revised merger terms. Washington Holdings will acquire 58% instead of 51%. You'll remain as CEO for 2 years, during which you'll implement comprehensive reforms. After that, you'll transition to chairman emeritus. The terms were harsh, but not impossible. He'd lose control, but retain position. The company would survive, employees would keep their jobs, shareholders would see value. The alternative was scorched earth. "I need time to review," Blackstone began. "No," Keisha cut him off. "The window for deliberation closed when you refused to shake my hand. You have 2 minutes to decide." She checked her phone. 2 minutes, Mr. Blackstone. Choose wisely." The lobby held its collective breath. Outside, more news vans arrived. Inside, a billionaire CEO faced the most expensive decision of his life. The clock in the lobby showed 11:07 a.m. Time was running out. 11:08 a.m. "I accept," Blackstone said, his voice barely audible. "Option 1. I accept your terms." The live stream exploded with reactions. 42,000 viewers typing simultaneously created a digital storm impossible to follow. But the prevailing sentiment was clear. Justice had been served. Keisha handed him a microphone connected to the building's PA system. "Company-wide announcement, Mr. Blackstone. Tell your 2,400 employees what just happened." His hand shook as he took the microphone. The feedback echoed through 42 floors of offices. "Attention all Blackstone Industries personnel," he began, his voice cracking. "This is Richard Blackstone. I need to address a serious incident that occurred this morning in our lobby." Every office, every cubicle, every conference room heard his next words. "I publicly refuse to shake hands with Ms. Keisha Washington, CEO of Washington Holdings, due to my own prejudice and poor judgment. Ms. Washington is our merger partner, and I treated her with inexcusable disrespect based solely on her appearance." The building fell silent. 2,400 employees processing their CEO's public confession. "Effective immediately, I'm implementing the Dignity and Respect Protocol. Every person who enters our building will be treated with courtesy and professionalism, regardless of their appearance, background, or perceived status." He looked at Keisha, who nodded encouragingly. "I'm also announcing a $2 million donation to the Washington Foundation for Black Entrepreneurs and the establishment of our new Workplace Equality Initiative." The PA system carried his voice to every corner of the building. Marketing assistants looked at each other in shock. Accountants stopped mid-calculation. The executive dining room went completely quiet. Jessica's live stream had become appointment television. News networks were cutting to her feed. The story was trending globally with #HandshakeHeard reached 2.3 million mentions. Thompson watched the transformation with professional interest. In 30 years of law enforcement, he'd seen powerful people brought low, but never this systematically, this precisely. "Furthermore," Blackstone continued, "I will personally greet visitors to our lobby for the next 6 months, demonstrating the respect every human being deserves." Keisha pulled out another document, the Workplace Dignity Monitoring Agreement. "External oversight will be provided by Thompson and Associates Workplace Culture," she announced. "Officer Thompson, you're no longer head of security. You're our new vice president of Workplace Culture and Dignity Assurance." Thompson's eyes widened. From security guard to corporate VP in one morning. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. "Your first responsibility is implementing the Universal Greeting Protocol. Every visitor gets professional treatment, every interaction gets documented, every complaint gets investigated." She turned to the crowd of employees. "Anonymous reporting app launches tomorrow. Dignity violations will be investigated by external auditors. Results published quarterly." Kane stepped forward hesitantly. "Ms. Washington, what about the marketing implications? The brand damage?" "The brand damage happened when your CEO refused to shake my hand," Keisha replied calmly. "The brand recovery happens when you prove that was an aberration, not your culture." Sarah Carter raised her hand tentatively. "What about our current projects? European expansion?" "Accelerated," Keisha said. "Washington Holdings will provide immediate capital injection. The Munich facility becomes profitable by Q2. London offices triple their workforce. Amsterdam becomes our European headquarters. The employees began to understand. This wasn't just crisis management. This was a transformation. Every employee receives bias training within 60 days, Keisha continued. Not a corporate theater. Real education, external facilitators, anonymous feedback, measurable results. She pulled out her phone. The Washington Post interview starts in 10 minutes. Mr. Blackstone will explain how this incident led to genuine reform, not just damage control. Outside, the news crews had multiplied. CNN, Fox Business, Bloomberg, local affiliates. The story had everything: billionaires, discrimination, corporate drama, and an ending that felt like justice. The merger proceeds under new terms, Keisha announced to the lobby. 68% Washington holdings, 32% existing shareholders. But job security improves, benefits increase, growth accelerates. She looked directly at Blackstone. You keep your CEO title for 18 months. Prove you've learned something. Prove this company can change. Thompson was already planning his new role. Workplace culture audits, dignity protocols, anonymous reporting systems. He'd gone from enforcing Blackstone's discrimination to preventing it. One final requirement, Keisha said. Monthly diversity metrics published publicly. Hiring data, promotion rates, pay equity analysis, complete transparency. The live stream audience had stabilized at 45,000 viewers. Comments showed overwhelming support for Keisha's approach. This is how you handle discrimination. Real consequences lead to real change. Respect earned through fear beats no respect at all. Jessica ended her stream with a simple message. Sometimes justice looks like a handshake. Sometimes it looks like a $3.2 billion deal. Today, it looked like both. The lobby began to empty. Employees returned to their floors, but everything had changed. The company culture, the power structure, the very definition of acceptable behavior. Blackstone remained near the elevators, holding the signed agreements that would reshape his empire. Keisha packed her documents methodically. The messenger bag that had seemed so ordinary now looked like what it was: a toolkit for corporate transformation. Outside, reporters prepared their segments. Inside, 2,400 employees began a new chapter in their working lives. The handshake that changed everything was over. The work of change was just beginning. 3 months later, the Blackstone Industries lobby looked different. A new plaque near the entrance read, "Every person deserves dignity and respect." Below it, the universal greeting protocol was posted in 6 languages. Richard Blackstone stood behind the reception desk at 9 a.m. sharp, greeting visitors personally. His handshakes were firm now, his eye contact genuine. The man who once refused basic courtesy had become its most visible champion. The transformation metrics were staggering. Employee satisfaction up 34%. Discrimination complaints down 89%. Stock price recovered and surged 23% above pre-incident levels. The European expansion was ahead of schedule and profitable. Thompson & Associates' workplace culture had become an industry standard. 47 Fortune 500 companies had adopted similar programs. The anonymous dignity reporting app has been downloaded 2.4 million times across corporate America. Keisha's story had sparked a movement. Handshake Heard became a rallying cry for workplace dignity. Black soul stories like hers demonstrated that quiet strength often defeats loud prejudice. Real-life stories proved that accountability drives change faster than legislation. The Washington Foundation for Black Entrepreneurs had funded 247 new businesses with Blackstone's $2 million donation. Each entrepreneur received not just money, but mentorship, office space, and access to Washington Holdings' global network. Jessica Martinez's live stream had launched her journalism career. Major networks competed for her coverage of corporate accountability stories. Her documentary, The $3.2 billion Handshake, premiered at Sundance to standing ovations. The merger had exceeded every projection. Revenue up 42%. The workforce expanded to 3,200 employees across 12 countries. The Munich facility had become Washington Holdings's European success story, generating $340 million annually. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was cultural. New employees at Blackstone Industries learned about the handshake during orientation, not as shame but as transformation. Proof that companies can change when leadership chooses growth over ego. Thomson's monthly reports showed consistent progress. Hiring diversity, 47% people of color in new positions. Promotion equity, bias gaps eliminated across all departments. Pay analysis, gender and racial disparities corrected within 18 months. Blackstone himself had become an unlikely advocate for systemic change. His speaking engagements at business schools drew packed audiences. His message was simple. Respect costs nothing but pays everything. The touching stories emerged daily. Employees who felt safer speaking up. Customers who chose Blackstone because of its value transformation. Suppliers who preferred working with companies that demonstrated genuine commitment to dignity. These life stories mattered. They showed that individual actions create ripple effects across communities, industries, and cultures. The handshake that started it all had become a symbol, not of what was denied, but of what was possible when power meets accountability. Corporate America took notice. Discrimination incidents became career-ending events rather than minor scandals. Boards demanded dignity audits. Shareholders factored culture metrics into investment decisions. Keisha Washington's approach has proven that economic pressure drives social change more effectively than moral arguments alone. When discrimination costs billions, companies find religion quickly. The lesson resonated far beyond corporate boardrooms. Respect isn't earned through wealth or status. It's granted through humanity, maintained through character, and protected through courage. Have you witnessed workplace discrimination or been denied basic respect based on your appearance? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters, and change starts when we refuse to accept the unacceptable. Every voice counts. Every story creates pressure for accountability. Every shared experience builds momentum for systemic transformation. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories for more inspiring tales of quiet strength, turning obstacles into opportunities. Ring that notification bell because dignity and intelligence always triumph over prejudice and arrogance. Share this video if you believe everyone deserves a handshake, eye contact, and basic human respect. Together, we're building a world where courtesy isn't conditional on appearance or assumptions. Remember, respect given freely is worth more than respect demanded. Character is revealed in how we treat those who can do nothing for us. And sometimes, the most expensive mistake costs just 3 seconds of arrogance.